charge you for greater services in the year 2026. We are only here by the grace of God and by the preferment of Mr. Governor. He is not under any mandate to keep any one of us. So please let's justify the confidence that we repose in us. Today, we have decided to start a very topical issue. And I've been privileged to sit under the tutelage of the Chair, Board of Internal Revenue Services and his team. And I want you to find yourself in the discussion of this morning. You can say, I'm in guitar or I'm in insurance. Nothing concerns me concern tax. I have had to say that I recognize I was a financial illiterate as I listened to them. Because as the social media went about talking about tax, in my head, like, hey, all my undisclosed sources of income. But I have read through that law. Thank you so much, sir. I have listened to them talk about it. And I've seen that it's actually a bold and decisive move of the president of this country to preserve us as a nation, as an entity. And so it behoves on us as accounting officers in a different constituency to educate, to inform, to live the truth of this mandate. And so this is not a joke. If we had to pay for this, it would be in 3 digits of dollars, thousands of dollars. I'd be chairman. But we are not, Mr. Governor is paying for it indirectly. So I want us to be very attentive as we listen to it. This morning, he's also going to take us through financial autonomy for us as civil servants. If there's anyone that needs to listen to that, it is us. A lot of us are living in the euphoria of wealth. We will not know how poor we are until another 2, 3, 4, 5 years after retirement. That will not be our portion in Jesus' name. Money is very fleeting. I interact almost on a daily basis with our retired colleagues, and I can feel how it can be. So thank you for coming up with this. I've also seen him do that with his team. There's a little difference, there's a slight difference between financial autonomy and financial slavery. So this morning will be taking us through that. I won't waste much of your time as I hand over to the chair and will relocate for this assignment. Thank you.
You have some amount in your bank account, it's going to be removed, all manner of things that are being peddled here. And some of it are here. Some of them is the government is introducing new taxes on the masses. That is not a truth, is a lie. And when people get on peddling it, that Tinubu, blah blah blah. Mr. Taiwo Yedede had to put a caveat. Okay, if anybody can point to any section of the law where your taxes are increased, point it to me. Where we are increasing number of taxes, point it to me, I'll give you 100,000. I don't know whether anybody has been able to come up. What we realize is that many people will not even bother to open the law. They don't even bother to read it, but they will condemn it in ignorance. So I want to assure you, it is not coming to increase the number of taxes. Several taxes that have been used by federal, state, and all right, thank you. That have been introduced by many states, local government, and everything is to be fused together to be a single degree. That is where we are about 60-something different kind of taxes before. We should not have more than 9. So when people now keep on saying, oh, they are the ones to introduce new taxes, we wonder where they get that from. Your bank account will be debited from January 2026. At least today is January 13. How many of you have had your bank account debited? Is a lie. Small businesses will suffer more. It's also a lie. Because if you are a limited liability company, for example, and you don't have a turnover that it says of up to 100 million in a year, you are even exempted. Are we together? Some also say states are losing revenue. States will be more fairly treated. What we mean is this: some of the revenue that the state is going to generate is going to also come down. But we are now expected to explore the possibility of those people that have not been paying anything or that have been underpaying to bring them into the tax net, rather than asking the few people that will have their details. Again, some say, oh, tax reform is just revenue grabbing. It is not. It is rather for stimulation of development. And then some say capital gains tax of 30% will be charged on your capital market investment. That is, of course, a lie. If you sell shares that is more than 150 million naira, and I don't know how many of us have shares of up to 150 million, and then you now make a gain on it, capital gains tax has been in existence before. Then whatever gain you make will be added to your income. And is it not your income? It is. Even minimum wage earners will pay fee is a lie. Minimum earners will not pay. And quite a number of people in Ekiti State will not even pay anything under the new law. Gifts and remittances will be subject to tax. That's also another lie. Nigerians in diaspora will be taxed. No. Except to the extent to which they get income from Nigeria. Pension and retirement benefit will be taxed. No, they are tax exempt. These are just a few of the misconceptions that are out there, which we also expect us as educated people, as people that know the right from their left, not to believe social media reports. And you can quote me. These are some of the expected impacts on how the new tax law will benefit Nigeria. There are benefits to businesses, there are benefits to households, and there are benefits to the government. For businesses, for example, it means reduced business risk, lower tax burden, then there will be competitive tax regime. For household, that is for you and I, economic relief, lower tax burden, opportunities. If you look around Ekiti, in the last how many months, you wouldn't have seen us blocking any road. And we have not been doing any enforcement. And what we did in EKRS was that immediately we knew the law was coming. Thank God for the Honorable Commissioner for Finance. I wanted prayer on him, and they got those fees ready for us ahead of other states. And we spent several days looking at it in total. And so when we realized that some of the things that we were doing before we would no longer be allowed to be under the new law, we began to simulate, okay, let us not do this. Let us see to what extent it will impact our revenue. And that's why many of the shops that either to say, oh, they are locking us up. Because when we did our own arithmetic, we realized that for you to lock up, for you to generate an extra 1 million, you may have to lock up maybe 50 or 100 shops. Meanwhile, that extra 1 million can be generated if you have adequate data of a particular person that has made so much money and is hiding. So, effort is to be focused on the high net worth individual, those that have the ability to pay a little extra. And those ones are in the realm of 3 to 4%. So I want to assure you people that this new law, at least about 95 to 96% of our taxpayers in Ekiti, we have reduction in their tax revenue, and that includes you and I, because I don't end within the bracket where the rate will be increased. Some key changes to personal income tax. They are there. Rent-free accommodation, that one is interesting to many of us. I will make the slides available through the head of service so that we don't draw on to photographer. We'll be able to concentrate on it. I want to be very short so that I can take questions and then correct some other things that may be bothering us. Benefit in kind, some of these things are in section 14. Part of what I am also thinking of doing is to give you a copy of the law, and I'm not sure we have enough copies. We will still get them by God's grace to give in particular to our revenue generating MDAs, so that we will operate within the law. Because one director was in my office yesterday, and it's like, look, what we want to charge in the year 2026 is higher than what we have been charging. And I had to tell him this, that the law is the law. You give us the rate before. If you said we're going to be collecting 5,000 on something, and we have put it in our law. You now say, no, it should be 10,000. We operate within the law, and that's why the last 3 years, nobody has been able to take us to court. People will make all manner of noises on the social media. Internal revenue power, but have we violated any law? Because for you to have a valid tax, there must be a law. If there is no law, there is no taxation. We must look at the position of the law critically before we talk about any taxation. So rent reaccommodation, let me just mention how that one comes in. If you pay rent, and that rent, you want to claim relief for that rent, 20% of that rent can be claimed, provided it's no more than 500,000 naira. But if you are living in your own house and you want to claim it, sorry, you are not paying rent. And if you know that you are indeed paying rent, give us the evidences that you are paying rent. Where is the rent agreement? Where is the receipt? And all that one. Who is the landlord? And that, of course, gives us an opportunity also of evaluating whether your landlord is paying his taxes as a well due. Income tax returns for individual. Now, the income tax that you have been doing before now, normally employers of labor that close to the PPE will file a return not later than 31st of January every year with us to say, look, last year, these are my staff, this is their income, the taxes, the payee I deducted from their salaries is this, I have remitted this. That one is supposed to be filed before 31st of January every year. If it is not done, there are penalties associated with it. Now the extra thing in this new law is that aside from that filing that your employer, in this case it will be the office of Accountant General or wherever it is the payroll, that will file that one with us and say, okay, head of service, this is your income for last year, this is the payee that we deducted, this is the payee we remitted. They give us that one. Aside from that, each and every one of us is now also required to file a personal income tax with Ekiti State Internal Revenue Service. That is very, very crucial. What is the purpose of this? The tax law says it is the total income that should be subjected to tax. Okay, now I'm here, maybe as a taxman, I earn salary, and then filing has been done for me that, okay, this is the salary, this is the tax deducted, and this is the tax remitted by EKRS to the coffers of the Ekiti State government. We do it as a matter of religious something. Is as you are paying salary, we are issuing our own check for that automatically. And because I even have one, my colleague in charge of me, he will say, he will come and lock up my office if you don't remit in time. And the young man meant it. Because there was the time we had problem, we couldn't pay, but thank God for Accountant General and the rest that make sure we get our cost of collection in time so that we pay regularly. And so some of us also may be here, maybe we have one business out there, we have 2, 3, 4 workers there. You are expected to do filing on their behalf. But aside from that, as an individual, you also to do your own filing. Yes, I'm the chairman of Internal Revenue. Internal Revenue will do filing for me. But what if I make money as a musician? But what if I have some chains of businesses here and there? What if I collect rent here and there? I'm expected to disclose all that one in the filing I do. When I now do that one, Internal Revenue will now do a computation. Look at it, okay, what is the total amount that Mr. Olatona is supposed to pay? Let's say they compute it and they realize that, oh, Olatona is supposed to pay 1 million. What has his employer paid on his behalf? They are paying 600,000. Mr. Olatona, the 400,000 a million. Bring that money. Now, if you look at why are they populating, blah, 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 blah. If you remember recently, Dangote charged at some people, Farouk and the rest of them. And he said, if you are working in NMBC or whatever it is, how come you have sponsored so? And he said, if you know that you made your money genuinely, can we see your tax return? So you realize that it's like a chain that cannot be broken. When you want to escape from the tax fine in one way, you fall into the trap in another way. And it's just like whoever comes to Equity. If you have done the proper filing, this is me, oh, I made this one from my government work, I made this one from my kiosk or from my shop. More often than not, what you will still come up with, I mean many of us in Ekiti here, may still not be that you will pay something that will break your neck. And when you now need government service, you want to process your phone, you want to do something, you want to do some other thing, that will not be a time for you to be running helter-skelter. And let me speak Yoruba to make myself clearer. If you have an idea of the avalanche of data that is available to any tax authority in Nigeria now, you will be amazed. I'm not scared enough. Those data are already available. So people say, Mama, call me somewhere below. What of the one that you have done before? Hardly can any of us transact now without bank. Even the people selling paper, they have OP accounts. And all these things, they pass through a system that is available for data mining. And so it's therefore in our own interest to come and say, this is what I made last year. If it's a gift, we will recognize it as a gift. One of the members of the ESCO summit this morning was saying, look, if I have to travel abroad and I get extra code, are you also going to tax it? I said, no. Extra code is extra code. Travel allowance. How will I tax it? It's not an income. So we should just have a peace of mind that we are not to be peeping into your account and say, okay, head of service, you have 1 million here. Where did you get? No. The people that will be peeping into their account are the big shots. Are we together? If you don't earn more than 2 million in a month, this new law says you will pay less tax. How many of us have that? Okay, with the law promotes also that we will earn above that. Jesus name. Like I always say, and I don't pray that I will be part of the people that will be exempted from tax. Because if you are exempted, that means you are earning less than 800 million in a year. And if you look at the thing I put there, you see the old law in that orange color, and you see the new one in the green color. Under the old law, the first 300,000 will be charged at 7 of your taxable income will be charged 7% rate. The next 300, 11%, and on. But under the new ban, the first 800,000 will advance 0%. You are not paying anything. So those that are earning minimum wage are automatically exempted. They are not going to pay a dime. Are we together? Then it is the next 2.2 million that you now pay. And if you look at what we have done now, this is the way we calculate it. Gross annual income. We'll put it there. Then your NHF contribution, that's National Housing Fund contribution, will be deducted. Insurance contribution will be deducted. Pension contribution will be deducted. Interest on loan that you have used to build the house that you are living in will be deducted. Life insurance premium will be deducted. It is after that one. That is under the after that 20% of annual rent. That is your rent that I mentioned earlier on will be deducted also as a relief. After then, you now have the taxable income. And after that taxable income now, you now have the first 800,000 of your taxable income, you are not paying anything. So this is a law that one would have expected Nigerians to jump at and to begin to praise Mr. President for this bold step he has taken. On and on like that. Now, I have a table here that even makes it much clearer. If you look at the first table, the first column serial number, annual gross pay, deduction. That is if you say, okay, 10%, all payee, If you look at both pages there, for 840,000, somebody that is earning 840,000, under the old one, you will be paying 32,528 as is tax. But under the new one, you will pay 0. Are we together? Under the old one, if you are earning 1.2, you will pay 63,000. Under the new one, you will pay 42. And now, if you are not paraventure, you are not sure, you are confused, there is a QR by that side, which at your own time you can use your phone to scan. It will take you to the website of Tax Reform Committee, and then you can key in your salary, your income. When you key it there, and you key in also all those pension, all those deductibles, automatically it will calculate your tax liability for you. Then on your own, you can determine whether EPRS is cheating you or not. Are we together? So this is one of the most transparent laws that has been made. But because of the natural tendency not to trust anything coming from government, then people now began to say all manner of things against it. If you look at it until you get to serial number 8, where you have 18 million, even at that one, if you earn 18 million, under the old law you pay 2.8 million. 2.854. But on the new one, you pay 2.832. You still save 22,000. It is when you now begin to earn like 30 million per annum. And the last statistics that I took, I'm not sure anybody hands up to that here. Now, under the old law, you pay 4.9. Under the new law, you pay 5.1. And what is even the difference? 236,000. If you had all the other differences, come and swallow it up. So this law is to make life easier for the poor. Now, even on corporate income tax, that is the one charged by company. If you are not setting up to 100 million in a year, you won't pay company income tax. On and on and on like that. Before now, minimum tax also has been repealed. I was an auditor years back, and I audited a client. And let me tell you the truth, that client actually made a loss. And I was confused, I was confuted. Because under the minimum tax regime that time, when I calculated the minimum tax, the guy would still pay about around 50,000 naira. That's around 1994, thereabout. 50,000 was a lot of money then. This guy, I have audited the books, I have combed everything. He actually made a loss. But there was a law in Nigeria that even if you made a loss, you must pay something minimum. I had to ask God for forgiveness. Would you will make a profit? So that instead of paying 50,000, you will pay like 10,000. Because this guy made a loss. That was the old law. And now under the new one, if you are not made a profit, we will leave you, we will not be taxed. And so you can now see the pain in the hearts of most of us tax administrators when we know what has been done to make life easy for people. And then people go on social media, it is really not fair. Also under value added tax, it's not being increased. They wanted to move it up and bring company income tax down. But I was in the meeting, thank God, Akanajela was there, was together in Abuja. And Attorney General was also there, Commissioner for Finance was there. We were all there when the governor said no, they agree and disagree. And they said, let us keep back at 7.5. And they now said they will increase what they will be giving us as a state. Out of the VAT, that they will increase our own by 5%. Federal government will relinquish 5%, provided we will stop consumption tax. Well, the consumption tax negative 4 million, 5 million per month. When we calculated what they will give us as 5% extra on our VAT, it will run to like 20, 25, 30 million. So I said, consumption tax, come. So hoteliers that we have been harassing on consumption tax, nobody is asking for consumption tax from them again. Is that still not fair? And even on VAT, there is now an exemption on some basic food items, which we also need to decrease in the prices of food. And those of us that are also in hospital management and the rest of it, there are also bad that have been removed from some of the drugs and medical services, which also means things should be cheaper and easier for people. For business owners, that also reform is not possible. I can go on and on, but I'm conscious of the time. We are also using the law to harmonize quite a number of things. Discussions are ongoing with local government from time to time. What can we do? What can we not do? If we are collecting this, we shouldn't collect that. Can we collect this on your behalf so that we don't keep on bothering the people? And then some of those overlapping taxes like consumption one is now gone forever, which is also to make life easier for people. These are our own functions as tax administrators. I don't need to go so much into that. Now, I need to talk about tax identification number, because there are lots of noise around the December area. One old man came to my office, he's in his 80s, and I said, Papa, what are you doing here? And the man couldn't remember. Incidentally, when I was in secondary school, the man said that the best student in English language will get the prize of 15 naira then. And I remember I won the prize. So when I saw the man, I remember, I said, Papa, what is that? I said, Baba, go and rest. Nothing will touch your bank account. Tax ID is just more or less to say, have an account with us. Instead of Akanajana now saying, this is the payee of all the staff. And then by the time you now need your tax clearance, we are now asking for this, asking for that. If you already have a tax ID, you only tell us this is my tax ID. We run through our system. Oh, he's paying his tax. We use your tax clearance in a record of time. It's nothing to be scared about. Either you have tax ID or you don't have tax ID. It will not stop your bank transaction. Now, if you don't have, and there's nobody that uses mobile phone now that does not have NI, National Identity Number. Once you have that one, there is a way Joint Revenue Board, Nigeria Revenue Service, that's FRS, and all the subnationals, how we are working together to bring all this such that once you have NIN, is as good as you already have a tax ID. And if you are concerned about how to retrieve it, I'll put it there. You put your NIN, I have done my own. You put your surname, you put your date of birth, and put the other one. It will automatically give you your tax ID which you can use for any transaction within Nigeria. And this one is also harmonized. For example, in Lagos, I have a tax ID. In Ekiti, I have a tax ID. How many tax IDs should I have? It should not just be one, such that wherever I am, I can always say this is where I am. That's the purpose of that. Okay, income tax returns for individuals and charity basis. Sorry, you know, when you are about since basis instead of section. A return income shall be filled in the prescribed form with the relevant tax authority in each year of assessment and without notice or demand by every taxable person, whether or not liable to pay tax. That is, even if you are not earning up to 800,000, it's still expected that you still do your filing. If you don't do that filing, it can have some consequences subsequently. What will be in that return? Your assessment form, amount of income from every source. If you earn income from trade, business, profession, vocation, we'll look at it, audited financial statement, then personal relief and tax computation, evidence of payment of the tax bills. If you are not technically inclined, as some of us are, you get to any of our tax stations, we can help you. And of course, our website also has some processes on what can be done. Now, personal income tax, I've mentioned this one. Return shall that is the one that the employer will file on your behalf. Okay. I'm just looking at the other one. This one's that's simple. Let me now go to opportunities and responsibilities to us that we have as civil servants. Pharmaceutical products, equipment, services, and education are now zero rated for VAT. This will reduce cost for providers and consumers. Let's take note of that. And then there's also VAT exemptions for all basic food items. And of course, there will also be reduction in multiplicity of taxes. And that's how I want to plead with some of us revenue generating MDA. Some of the revenue that some of us are generating are too tiny compared to the problems that come with it. So some of those things we're going to build them together. And it's also to enhance ease of doing business. And this new tax act also would attract investors into the state. For those that don't know, when a new investor comes into Ekiti State and we get to know, part of what we do as KRS is to pay them a visit. We welcome them and we tell them that, okay, these are your obligations to the government, but we'll leave you for the next 6 months. We're not going to bother you, we're not going to penalize you, we want you to settle first. And we've done that for quite a number of organizations and companies. But people, of course, won't know we do that. And some of those organizations we have done it for, they are very, very good. And then after 6 months, we'll check on you again. How are you doing now? Some will extend it to like 9 months. After they know you begin to fulfill your obligation, so that people don't get scared away. Stronger compliance culture expected from state tertiary institutions, exit and all self-accounting entities, all in the overall interest of the staff and Ekiti State at large. That's a tertiary institution we are continually on discussion. Office of Head of Service and Academic Office can support members through training and address, which I think we should appreciate the Head of Service for this responsibility. And then harmonization of MDAs demand notice. We still want many of our MDAs to please collaborate with us. I'm begging you, we are not competing in any form of way. Whatever you generate will still be tagged as IGR. It will still count as if we are delivering. It's one state. And so the way some MDAs feel that we are competing is not fair. And there are some that filing of annual returns, even if no tax is due for all civil servants, we have said that. So that is the end of the discussion on tax reform. Maybe I take a few questions before we move to the second part.
Then there's also something going around that we shouldn't send money via POS because there's no way can put narration. Please, can you explain better?
Thank you, sir. Those are myths. Let's look at it from this angle. Normally, on your own, if you are in accounting, when you are transacting, you are expected to put narration. Just for your own record, for you to be able to say, okay, this money I transfer to this person, it is in respect of this. But the tax man will not say because you did not put narration, you will now tax that money. No. Unless there is a need to be. What do I need? Okay. All our staff, we are not up to 400 in Nigeria. So how many accounts have we will make it? It doesn't work that way. But what often happens is that if there are exemptions, let's say there are needs to do special investigation on an individual, and it's not something that is common. I don't have your bank account number, so why should I now pry into it? No. So all those ones are myths, like you have said. They are mere myths. Either you put narration or you don't put narration. Myth. Now let me give you a scenario that can guide us well. If I say I'm a civil servant, and yes, my salary is, let's say, 400,000 per month. And that 400,000 keeps on coming every month, And now, another amount, let's say 5 million, also now comes into my account every month. And I now want my tax clearance certificate. And for any reason whatsoever, my lifestyle is not the lifestyle of 400,000 annually. I'm riding the biggest car in town. I'm living in the biggest estate. I'm owning chains on top. I'm having this and that. The tax man can say, come on, just like that fella in Lagos. You know, when he was doing all manner of things, hey, why would Bugatti me on the internet? He didn't know that LRS was watching him. So when they slammed me with an assessment of 36 million, not per pound. Okay, if you have been making $10,000 per month on your online store and you'll be hiding it, you now said you live in Badala and Akwai. Now they are able to trace that to you. Then they will now want to zero you and check your accounts. That's how it comes about. Not that we just look at everyone and say, yeah, let us check the account. No, something will trigger it. And then they now check it, okay, So you got this contract from Google, fine. This one you got it from Jumia, no problem. Okay, how come this 5 million that is coming every month? Where is it coming from? That's where that narration can then come in. If, for example, I'm collecting money on behalf of my alma mater, want to repair the school, want to do something, and then I can then say, oh, this is the reason. If you can remember at that point that, oh, the money is for my alma mater, no problem. But it's good if your record shows that, oh, this money is a loan, this money is this, is that. But not that if you don't put narration, automatically, or you shouldn't use POS. It doesn't work that way. Thank you. But if you don't report the whole money generated, we are shortchanging ourselves. Because there's a way they evaluate the performance of each state. At the time I came on board, Ekiti State was always scoring 34, 35 out of all the states of the country. And it's not as if we are the lowest generating, but because we were under-reporting. It's not like somebody made the first class and he says, no, it's 2 I mean. That's how it is. So nothing is changing, man.
This new tax law affects us because presently we handle pharmaceutical products and consumables. Are we also exempted? Because presently we pay some revenue to the state government.
No. Anything you have been doing, you are buying new drug and it's putting VAT. You have the right to say no. Drugs are now exempted from VAT. We won't pay you for VAT. That's how it affects us.
With educational institutions, we have argued this before. You are not paying those taxes. So what your schools are charging on books should actually go lower, because this reform should affect the society, and they should know that President Tinubu has done something to help the masses. So you have to look out for that.
You're moving your timber from here maybe to Kano. You will pay in Ekiti State, you will pay in Osun State, you will pay in all the states. And then that now increases the cost of goods and services. So we agreed at joint revenue board meeting that we will limit it to the place where you are taking the product from and where you are delivering. Instead of somebody taking a product from here to Onitsha, paying in 20 different places, all those costs are going to be added to the cost of the goods. So why don't we eliminate it? So that's what applies. At the point of loading, you charge according to your law. ARB is talking about a particular rate that will be charged. So according to your law, you charge in that place. Where the thing is going to be delivered, you will also charge. But instead of you get to Ondo State to pay, you get to Ogun State to pay, you get to Oyo State to pay, all that one will be eliminated. That's it.
Is the tax going to be based on monthly basis or annual?
Annual.
Okay. If it's annual, so that means each and every one of us will pay tax. And how are you going to get the tax from our salary at the end of the month?
For example, let's say your salary has been 400,000, that's your gross pay, and what the Office of Accountant General has been deducting has been 50,000, therefore giving you 350,000 before now. With this new law, what it means is that instead of that office to deduct 50,000 from you, they will deduct equivalent like 40,000. Okay? And so if you deduct 40,000 from 400,000, you now have what? 360. So it's as good as you have more money in your pocket. That's how it's affects. Thank you.
To ask, sir, we've increased target for us in IGR scope, and SABA with ease of doing business waiver. How do we meet up?
With the way these things are, in the first few months, there's no way we can evade the drop in revenue. And so he's aware. And I also told the House of Assembly members that look, with this one, let us set our target for 2026 to be a bit lower than that of 2025, just to face the reality of some of these things. So Mr. Governor is aware. the Budget Monitoring Committee is also aware that this thing is going to have some impact on us. But it's going to be temporary because we shouldn't then say, no, we should then be creative enough to identify those that are not within the tax net in particular, and then bring them in, and then let the poor breathe in the language of Mr. President. Thank you.
But the other part of it, we say that other sources of income, how do we go about that? You told us to receive from where do we come pay available? And then how do we pay for those other sources of income? And then for my colleagues here too, we know that these are exempted. But as an accounting officer, we held a training at the government last year. One gentleman came from ICPC and he told us the implication of receiving it. So because you want to exempt, you want to enjoy the exemption, and you are given the form, maybe it's an income. You now try to reclassify it as a gift. It's better for us to, we should be aware. Not everything. Just ensure that you put in your correct sources of income. If 500,000 is an income, take it there in the form as income. Don't change it to gift. Gift in quotes. So we should be aware of that. The Bureau of Code of Conduct is there, ICPC is there, ESCC is also there. So because you want to invade tax, this 500,000 is from your building, you got the gift, this one, gift. And you know you have to submit your bank statement so that you won't join from prime pan to fire. The only thing you do is just to be taxed, and the tax will be minimal. So I think that is what I have for now. And I have some colleagues who said, some of them have said that we understand better by and by. So as it goes on, you can go to the office of the chairman IRS or the office of the accountant general. And we have also issued a circular late last year based on deduction at on our phone, so that we get better, we'll be better informed. Not only we have what they call the Ministry of Health and the Ministry of Education, even agreed to. There are some agricultural products too that are VAT exempted. So if you don't lay your hand on the gazette, if you don't have a better understanding of what to do, or when you come to the office of the AG and she slashes something, won't say the AG is a wicked woman. So God will bless us all. So please, I want you to answer.
To the hands of ICPC, EFCC, and the rest like she has said. But if you have never included a particular income as part of your income, and those people now begin to ask you questions, you will not be able to defend it. Look, in this kind of economy, it is, my colleagues know, what is crucial to me is that you use the working hours to do EKRS job. If we assign you a responsibility, we are target deliver. Whatever you now do with your weekend is your business. You have an agreement. I know some of my staff that are into poultry business. That's none of my business. But if they are now doing their filing, it is expected that they be able to say, okay, from EKRS I earned 2 million this last year. From my agreed business, 500,000 came. My total income is now, you see, gross annual income, salaries, wages, fees, allowance, all this is my total, everything gross. This is it. The money I make from business, the money I make for trade. For example, as I am here now, I have a firm that I was running before I came here. Clients will pay into their accounts. The managing partner is managing it. But I will be lying to say that at the end of the year, they don't give me a share of profit. So the share of profit from now on, I will need to add it to my gross income in Ekiti. Whatever is the shortfall, I should pay to Ekiti State government. That's the way it works all over the world. And Nigeria is now coming into that realm also of you doing your annual filing. I hope that is clear. About people lying about, it's gift. The thing is also that the taxman is also giving grace because Nigerians will lie. We know, for example, that every worker in Ekiti State will say they are now earning less than 800,000. So when you come and you say, I earn less than 800,000, I shouldn't pay anything, no problem. That also alone, when we look at your dress, we look at what you are wearing, we look at the car that brought you and you say, you don't earn 800,000 in a whole year. Then we begin to say, man, is it this? Is it that? We ask questions, and those questions now lead to bigger information that will enable us to do our job. Thank you.
There's no ignorance in law. What I expect us to do now is to go back to our MDA and represent states. For me, in tutorial classes in those days, when I learn something, when I'm teaching other people, I understand it. Remember your DAS, your GFA, your program officers work with it. And they are living with the needs and the life. For example, especially someone like you in a job store, if you pay VAT on any of the drugs getting into the store, you know you are liable under law. Right. So we have done this free of charge. So you are now free to go online to learn and train your MDAs. You are the accounting officer. What your DFA or DAS does, you are liable. There's no point going to fight the accountant general. Taxable. It has been shown to you, oh man, what is right. The other beauty is this: it is now serious business. For me, when I went through this thing, it helped me to give account of my income. You know, there's some maybe passive income that you have that you're not even mindful of. You know, if I look at some of the shoes some of you are wearing, especially from agri to education, you cannot tell me it's our salary you are So I will start the job of writing this because when the letter is coming, it will come to my office first. I'm not doing it. Now I tell people that there's corruption everywhere. It takes a smart person. So please account for your income. If somebody gives you $10,000, it's not allowed. There's a maximum. Even the World Bank, you can still give gifts. In those days, it used to be $400. Now I don't know if they have increased it. Account for it as gift to yourself. It helps. They just saying that understand your income, and that will lead us to the next phase of this presentation. There are money that come into your hand and you just spend anyhow. You take that. If you look at accountants, they can't give you money from their bag. Any money that gets into their hand, it has been. And that's why they are rich. That is where we are going. So this tax law, for me, is teaching us to be accountable first to ourselves. Remember, you are supposed to do tax return. For those of us who live in UK or US, nobody teaches you that. You find it yourself. If you live in the US and you want to send $10,000 to me in Nigeria, it must be well allocated. If not, you will catch it there, they will catch me there. You must say where it came from. You don't become sudden millionaires in developed countries. And that's where we are going to. We're not saying you shouldn't become millionaires. And that will teach you where you can invest. I'm not saying you should launder money, but if you have 100 million somewhere.
before I could buy my heater. That was around 1991, 1992, thereabout. That's time value of money. The money you have in your hand now matters more than the one that you don't even know when you're going to have. There are different types of finances. Public finance, which is part of what we are also involved in. Corporate finance is what the companies deal with, and then personal finance is what we want to talk about. When we talk about personal finance, the income can come in so many ways. Money can come from salary, profit, rent, bill, house, royalty, dowry, alimony, even bribe, gambling, offering. And you know the new tax law says that we don't even care where the income is coming from. Even Ashawo, if we have evidence that the woman is making her money from Ashawo business, we will tax it. It's an income. The whether it's honorable or not honorable, we will be a lot to learn about money. There is the theory of compound interest that many of us don't know. I'm going to do some little demonstration today to help us. Banking is part of money management, insurance, taxation, inflation, risk, time value of money, diversification of business, gearing, that is taking loan or adding loan to your business, shares, loans, passive income, financial advisor stuff. These are a lot of things to learn about money. But one thing I found about Ekiti people is that we struggle a lot to make the money. We want to make the money. Salary or two, she side but after making that money, many, not most of us, have not mastered the art of managing it. You can make the money, but if you don't know how to manage it, the person that knows how to manage it will even employ you. Are we together? Money leads per day and pushes us around. What do I mean? Is there anybody that don't spend money today? Is there anybody that won't spend money in a day? Even the baby that has just been born, the baby food he eats is not free. The diapers he wears is not free. You may not be the one paying, but somebody is paying it. The seat you are sitting on costs money. The dresses you are wearing cost money. Are we together? Many of you transported yourself today. So there is no day a man will not spend money. And you say, oh, when I retire, I won't be spending. You are lying. This generation of children, while that grandchildren is here, and you now begin to wonder, why I tell your dad, I tell your mom, what is happening again? So you realize that even at retirement, either you like it or not, you will keep on spending. And so if you don't make provision for what you will be spending there, and you don't provide some things and like the hands that gathers in summer, and then ask them to eat in winter, then after a few days or a few years of retirement, then the whole everybody now begins to look at that. It is not supposed to be so. But what can determine what will become after now is our habits. When you collect your salary, I don't want to put us on the spot. When you collect your salary, what's the first thing you do? Some of my colleagues said the first thing they will do is to remove their tithe. Congratulations. After your tithe, what again? One of my colleagues said, then I will say to madam, this job money is very fine. After that, I will say to this. After that, I will say to this. And whatever is now left, I will now save or invest. Once we leave investment, once we leave savings to whatever now remains, hardly will anything remain. Money is like drinking salty water. The more you drink, the thirstier you are. The more you earn, the more it wants to leak. It wants to leak. As long as it's in your bank account, it's pushing you. You see the shoe that end of service will wear. Shoot the end of service. You see the dress that another person is wearing. It will be pushing you. It is going to be pushing you. And so if you are then not disciplined enough to know how to push back, it pushes you into trouble. The person you should pay first after God, if you are a Christian, is yourself. And that yourself means you are investing into your future. Who determines your worth? Is it the end of service? Is it a general? Is it your boss? Who determines your worth? One well millionaire is worth 1 million naira. 1 million is worth 10 million. Unfortunately, some of us are so demeaned ourselves that we don't even want anything to access. Who determines your boss is not your boss, it's not your Mr. Governor, it's not the president of the nation. You as an individual, you determine your worth. You say, and so you have determined that that's where you're going to cap yourself. What's the permanent secretary? Salary comes up, you know, Mama, you have capped yourself. I know people that even at retirement, they began to make so much money that they ever made while in service. So it's a function of how you carry yourself, you're happy from now on. So, it is not the state government that determines your work. I gave before I go into that table, I gave an illustration on Friday on this issue of compound interest. We learned it in school, compound interest. But many of us never know how it works. Even scientists about this is one of the miracles. How does it work? I asked a simple question. When you leave office and want to chill, what do? Let's pick a typical man that does not drink. He just wants to chill. He goes to the roadside, he picks 3 apples, 350. He buys a bottle of milk, 650. That's how much? 1,000. Tó bá lò yẹn náà, ọmọ tó ń ṣiṣẹ́ láti àbí. So he picks 1,000 láti relax every day. How much will he use to relax in a month? 30,000 for 30 days. How much will he need to do that one in a year? 360,000 naira. That if let's say that person is Mr. Biodun, then Mrs. Blossom now decides to do her own a separate way. That 1,000, she now decides to save it per day. I don't think there should be any fears here. Or any general manager, you only save 1,000 per day. About what will be the result? Look at this one. At the end of year 1, you would have saved 360,000 naira. If you collect 15%, I know investment that you will get more than 15%, but I just use that basic. If you collect 15% on that 30,000 naira, at the end of year 1, your money will be 360,000 plus 54,000. It will now be 414,000. If you don't take that money and you reinvest it at the beginning of year 2, and you had another 360,000, saving of 1,000 per day, 15% of 414 plus 360 will be 116,100. At the end of year 2, you already have a savings of 890,000. And then in year 3, you bring that 890,000 forward, you save another 360,000, and then the interest will be 187,000. Everything at the end of year 3 will be 1.4 million naira. Now year 4, you bring that 1.4 million naira forward, and then you add 360, and you calculate the interest, it will be now 269,000. So by the end of year 4, you already have 2,067,000. At the beginning of year 5, you now invest that one, and you had another 360,000. What will be your interest in that year will be 364,000, which is already more than what you have been saving per. Are we together? Yes. What are we paying? So by the time you now go on and on and on like that, do you know that if you do that one for about 20 years, hello? Do you know if you do that one for about 20 years, you'll be worth over 40 million? Yes, 1,000 very per day. But at the month, at the Fijeshuya, I'm not complaining.
Hello.
If you have, you will still be able to ask questions. So, hello. Kosheshe. let's hold on. If you are a PS and you cannot save 30,000 in a month,
please let's hold our comment. This is a very interactive one. We want to hear from you later. Thank you.
Now, I also asked a question. I said, if I'm to give you 1 million naira now, and I'm also to now apply the principle of compound interest, and instead of 1 naira, I want to give you 1 kobo. But that 1 kobo, I want to be doubling whatever you have at the end of the day. Another day. So that if I give you 1 kobo today, tomorrow I'll give you 2 kobo, next tomorrow I'll give you 4 kobo, then 8 kobo, and then 16 kobo. Which one will you pick? Okay, 1 million lady, I'm at that. But do you know that 1 kobo per day, if you do it like, and you are doubling and you are doubling and you are doubling it for 30 days, you earn more than 1 million. This is a table, is hypothetical, but this is something that is very, very possible if you set your mind to do it. But more often than not, because we have wrong priorities, and so we run into troubles, because some of the things that are very easy to do to emancipate us from the vicious cycle of poverty, we don't do it. We are not disciplined not to do it. When you don't respect money, there are people that treat money anyhow. When you don't respect money, money will not respect you. When nothing matters to you, what determines the difference between the rich and the poor? 2 things. Attitude towards money and the value you place on money. If your attitude is that's an attitude. Or if you have some value for it. I painted an analogy. If you give a baby, maybe 2-year-old, $100 bill, a sweet, tom-tom, biscuit, which one would they do with the child pick? The one sweet, paper, $1 money, sweet, why? Because that's the one he or she has value for. Unfortunately, for many of us also, what we have value for are things that are just chop now and forget about the future. And it impacts us indirectly. So when you get your salary, there are so many ways you can treat it. Consumption. I'm a jail, necessary. I'm a worship, necessary. I'm a necessary. But do you know there is a level to which you can even buy a car and that car becomes a liability? Because we have been taught car vehicle is an asset, vehicle is an asset. That is if that vehicle is bringing in more money in your pocket. Is a liability. If you are not careful, only the other. And therefore, if you don't have streams of income to maintain that car, why do you want to go? When I was younger, I didn't know these things. I went ahead. How old was I? I bought Photo 605. Because fuel filter, they will call the price and it's up. When I went to one egg, I said, "What will the only play it? What will TMG only look only maintain all around? I learned my lesson. Any vehicle thing bad they maintain easily. After all, you can save it if you like. Maybe you save your own under the pillow. I don't let you be you find bank. If you put your money in First Bank or whatever, they give you maybe 2%, 3%. But there are better ways. How we are betrayed. Only about 25%, no there. 22% there. You can also invest it. Where are you going to invest it? With who? And at what returns? You can also do business and pay with it. And you can also sow it and give. If you don't know what to do with your money, please, I'm a very fertile ground. Some of us also, we have what we call I-doers. Even in internal revenue, I told my team yesterday that let's go at home. And there are some I-doers. Things we no longer use. Shoes that you are no longer using. Clothes that you are not worn in the last 1 year. Because what many of us need to prosper is in our hands. But we don't know. God asked Moses, what is that in your hand? What is in your hand? You are not seeing. And that's the same scenario that some of us have found ourselves. Only or and something that is valuable. I know a woman from Ekiti who traveled to UK to greet the children. Mama is a tailor. You better look at the guy show our church member. Oh, no, Mama, Papa, the money. So all of us, we have one tiny gift or the other that we are, be making use of. When I got to Lagos at age 20, I didn't know that they were paying people for knowing how to play music. Because music team will play late in your bed. And then I got to that church that day, I remember vividly. I said, oh, do you allow me to play the piano? He said, of course, yes. And I sat at the piano and played, and the reverend gentleman came. We shall start this evening service by singing so. I played it. He called the next day, I played it. I was happy that, hey, opportunity, hey, after service, the man asked, that gentleman on the piano, please see me after service. No problem, sir. Where do you live? I said, I didn't. No, you can be an assistant on this. I said, okay, sir, I'm very grateful, sir. I was thanking him for the opportunity that I would be able to play. The man has said, no, I will not give you a charge. Minimum wage is 125 naira. And I'll pay you that. I jumped at it. How would I have known that it is from that tiny music income I will now graduate? See from my hand exam. As I became free. Not taking school fees from anybody at age 20. I had the skill in Ekiti here. I had what I needed to make me someone who I didn't know. I became a chartered accountant in 1995. I was making more money from music until year 2000. So what is your own gift that God has given you that you can teach people who know? Maybe you can write, maybe you can sing, and the temptation is to think that it's too late. It's never too late. Potentials can be developed. Network determines your net worth. You may be able to tell somebody that, look, I can do this, so I can do that for you. Some of these things, like now, I'm rendering a free service here. If I'm to give this kind of lecture in Lagos business, I know how much will come to my pocket. But some of us, you not take these things for granted. The relationships you have now with some of the people that are working with you, that you are working with some of the external members of the public, that you have the privilege. I know one boy in my church in Lagos, he was just helping somebody, and then when they lost that, when protection, what's the name of that guy coming? Folded up. One of the customers he was helping to in his import business was the one that employed him. That guy is the money today. Let's be careful of our relationship. Relationship to me matters more than money. Because can you do this? I remember you help us solve this problem free of charge one day. It is not everything that we have to collect money for. There are some that you show. I have a picture in my living room in Lagos. And when people ask, what's the meaning of this one? I said, what it speaks to me is access. You give yourself, you sow some seed, and then God has a way of rewarding you. And I put Fanafi in the main scripture. I will tell you the meaning of Fanafi. Find a need and fill it. Let's repeat that. Find a need and fill it. Again. Find a need and fill it. I came in contact with an Ekiti man in Lagos some years ago. It was actually my father-in-law that said I should take him to his place. And I got there and I was interviewing the man. And I said, Papa, how did you come about this? He said he was working somewhere and then he ran into death and blah, blah, blah. But when he retired, he used one chapel apartment like that, I don't even know how to describe it. And then MTN just came one day and they said, we want to put a mask in your house. And I said, why do you want to pay me? He said, Baba, but we can't pay more than 3 million for this development. Baba took the 3 million. What did he do with it? He first of all sank a borehole, did a statue, put a tank up there, bought a generator, he started pumping water. Baba, I don't know where. Baba fẹ́ me on 20 naira, 20 naira, 20 naira. The following year, when they gave him similar money, he now built the other part of it. Who built, I think, maybe 4 bedrooms. That was how Baba began to back. 2 million, 3 million. We then begin to blow it. That extra money that is coming, the one that came during December, give to blah blah blah, kill a fishing, and blow it. Let us please consider our weight very well. And I was telling my colleagues a story of an elderly man, it's an old man, approaching 80 now. We were talking casually about idle assets, and I said, what's the use of an asset that is not generating income? I didn't know that old man was listening to me before. Until he came to thank me and my wife. I said, Baba, what? He has an old house he built as a banker in Oldota. Meanwhile, he was working as a banker. He now built just 2-bedroom BQ to live in with his family. He was planning to build the main building when banking job stopped. And then he was struggling to survive. He had me talk casually. And then he went to told the wife, Madam, he let you alone do. That in love only once in a year, and I'm not. By the time we get there, it will be so dusty, we will hardly be able to stay there. Many of the time we have to rent hotel and hire hotel. She put her in Kantima and Iso. They sold the house, I didn't know about it. They brought the money to Lagos, they already had land in Ekiti. Built 4-bedroom, 3-bedroom flat, 4 number 3-bedroom flats. They moved from the BQ into one of the flats, rented out 3, rented out the back one. And then the man said, Mr. Olatona, Olori Mini, I'm very grateful. When I told him what he worked on, I wasn't aware. It was just a casual discussion. So you also, you look and you can think very well. The head is not just for wearing pillow or tying cap or getting. It's for us to think. If you think very well, there must be one potential that you have, one skill, one grace that you are not making use of. Financial literacy is a lifetime process. Life events impact finances. I pray that we all will live in good health. Goals and needs change as life change, and then you have to make personal plan. Now, some of the things that throw us off balance is a kind of priorities. This is a typical Ekiti man and a woman priority. Kisha jẹun, kí lílébé, kí wọṣọ. Ìbá ti rí yẹn, kí ló túkù? I had an uncle. He said to me, ẹ bá sọ pé uncle, ẹ ti mú ọtí kí ọtí, ẹ fílẹ̀. Mo kọ́lé, mo ra dùkùkù, that's motorcycle. Mo ní television, mo ní ìyàwó mo lọ́mọ, kí ló túkù? That is the beginning and end for me. Unfortunately, one day, one of his friends had his liver background because of too much alcohol. The same man was saying we should be warning him that I was drinking too much. And we better, why don't you warn yourself? The second, so when you have the second priority is life choices, vacation, in Jeodada, in love, Mr. Me, a man of Mr. Me, a man of Mr. Small, a man of, but you know who will that he. Then the next on Dot Street, Okoti, Governor Biodun, yes, we have arrived. Well done. Then security for the total Batabashi going down, again, man said that I put 20,000, 30,000, no, the man said their side, and then again, man plan retirement. A wise man begins planning his retirement on the day he starts working. The day you start working, the day you collect your first salary, is when you are supposed to start planning your retirement benefit. Now you're going to plan retirement benefit, not $60. Anyway, it's not too late for some of us. So the result of I want it now, I want to get it now, and that's what leads into debt. How did they say? It's office me, house rent me, planning very well, when she go, and then what happen? Must you send your children to the school that the president student attend? Okay, merci grammar school, okay, merci community, I check my community, my son, my child, if you can afford it, no problem. Our community private school, our rules as you should be. or we now mortgage our future. Let's plan very well. Overspending also is there. If you know that your take home is 100,000, the little one she didn't want to get one salary. It's already planned. Are we together? There are some of these things in our society, we should plan them such that possibly what we'll be using to run them will be investment income. Are we together? Yes. Until the last 1 year or so, my uncle that is the professor of Inside University, I have an idea of how it started because I was like his accountability partner. Every year, once he collected his investment income in Ghana, he said, yeah, go and put it there. It wasn't from his principal money that he was putting it. Over 15 years, by the time we got to the place, lots of edifices have been built. Investment income. There is grandpa money, there is father money, there is pikin money. But what many of us do is to slaughter grandpa money. So there is no pikin money, there is no grandpa money. There are monies that are invested to high risky investment. Those are the grandchildren money. That is to say, you invested 1 million. That 1 million generated, let's say, 200,000. You invest the 200,000. The 200,000 generated 50,000. You know 50,000, the man who will not enough. Because in balance 50,000, OT by 200,000 became money. OT for 1 million grandfather money. But grandfather money only 1 million. Your land. That's the difference between other nations of the world and Israel. Other nations of the world, the money that comes into them, within it will rotate maybe 3 or 4 times is gone. But Israel, any money that comes to Israel, before it will go out of Israel, it would have rotated about 15 to 8. That whoever should divide, at the mark will lose it, at the mark be enhanced economy, at the color at the enhanced economy. Kila ṣe láàrin ara wa tó jẹ́ pé kí o bá ti wá láti is not original, and it got so bad to a level in Nigeria that Nigeria will produce shinaba one kò lọ staff ẹ̀ náà one kàpá be imported. I know a man that developed fantastic accounting software. When he couldn't get it sold in Nigeria because it's made in Nigeria, he had to go and register a company in UK. Oh, I was my partner in UK, and now they're killing now because in Katoba Jetwa, is part of our problem. Okay, suggested financial priorities. This is suggestion. Some will make use of it. It is just 10% of us here that can make use of it. When we meet in another 5-10 years, wherever, I know you'll be grateful for it. Yes, your food is important, your shelter is important, your clothing is important. Then immediately you take care of those basic physiological needs, then begin to think about security for the rainy day. It is not for every time, it's not forever that Christmas will come. Christmas gift is not you. Òṣìṣẹ́ ní Treasury Department of Economy ọjọ́ tó bá ti kúrò tó òṣìṣẹ́ ní Treasury Department tó lọ sí another one. The banker that say ẹ pẹ̀lẹ́ sà ẹ pẹ̀lẹ́ mà àríkàkí náà ni your Christmas gift is inside the boat. How do you want it now? They will bypass you and take it to the person that is next on that seat. So why don't you begin to pay yourself first and invest in your own future? Security for retirement. When you are taking care of that one, but I want to belong. Some of us also made that mistake before, but we have learned now, and we are better for it. No matter where you are in your financial lifestyle, your priorities should always be constant, which is to maximize your income, minimize unnecessary spendings, and then balance your lifestyle choices. That is what head of service was talking about. Accountants are always seen as being stingy. Oh, she was stingy. Value for money. If we don't know value for money, we can't get more. Because if, for example, if I say, give me a cup of tea, over or boil a whole kettle of water, my bag, the other kilo, because multi-calculated. Give me a cup of tea. Boil my boil my 10 cup of tea. Waste me. You are wasted 3 things. You are wasted the input. You are putting more than is required. Number 1, you are wasted. You are not being efficient because a cup of water should boil within 3 minutes. Is now taking 10 minutes to boil. You are wasted time. You are also not being effective because what you brought out to should take care of 10 people is taking care of me alone. So you are wasted 3 things, and that's the same way some of us waste time, waste opportunity. After posho, after shonje, akoko shonje no, kato loma posho, akako posho no, kato ma shonje. When some things can be done pari passu, God will open our eyes. Financial intelligence is not. This is one thing I told my agent. What brought this was because people were applying for loan, and loan, and the reasons they were giving. How many answers are you give me, why do you need this loan? And I was really annoyed one time because one guy had requested for a loan of 100,000. We just giving him incentive of about 90,000. Kilo to need the loan. And I realized that some of our staff are just blowing on the hand or relax. Look, it's not your boss' job to make you wealthy or secure. His job is to give you your paycheck, nothing more. Peter, when the last $13 said this some years ago, some of us were declaring, but we have realized that that is the truth. Let us like your again. Where you teach it, you see man no 100,000 per month. Multi software, Joshi share that. Bye, see you next time. It's not good. Salary for loan line, common sense. There are some of those market women, all this are market. They can employ many of us. One but what many of them used to evaluate their performance in the previous year, they will have the business you should have for you there is no goal, no ambition. Not just a salary, not just a minimum wage. Not by this one. I later continue. So only the forever. Making more money will not solve your problem if money management is your problem. Because if you make more money and you don't know how to manage it, it's just going to filter away. This is extremely crucial. Money pushes you around. Employer will ask for your days. Landlord, tax collectors, which we are, family and friends, they will demand for money. If you are smarter than money, then your money will be working for you, not working for money. Cherry, go away and say, I'm working for my money. I'm working for money. Either you like it or not. Are you as strong as you were 20 years ago? But in day. Once upon a time, only collateral people have to football and the poor. Who said, "Tell you what, secondary school, can you do my job?" But I think I'm going to collateral and the grade. So, in the same way, you are aging. The risk you could take 20 years ago and escape, you can't take it again. And so, you have to then be careful and then look at how can you now begin to plan. What is the need in your environment? Number the bench resident association meeting. One of my rent a chair 2 kilometers away. Are you sure you cannot invest it to rent that? Somebody must pay me for this business. Are we together? You can begin to think about what you can do, what you can invest in. I love passive investment. Think on broking man, think on my go bam. You know I can't see. Can I do something? You need some 500. Good. It go bam. Oh, it is so beautiful. Bam. Dividend happening. But you know what affects many of us? We are not financially intelligent enough. We were not taught to know numbers. We are not taught to know how things are done. If an old man came to a bank when my friend was the manager in the bank and said he needed money, he needed to do a nice something, I didn't have money. Ṣé ẹ ní ilé ìgbà tuntun tí mo ní mi ò lè fi lókun torí pé mo fẹ́ ṣojú mi? Ṣé ẹ ní ṣé àtàtì bàbá ní ẹ mo ní ibo ló wà? Ó ló wà nílé ẹnìkan olóhùn lè kó kankan ó kì í ṣáà lè wá báyìí ní ọyẹ ẹ wá bá mi ní. Bàbá glaze gbogbo ṣé àtàtì rẹpẹtẹ ni. All they needed was just to sell one of those shares. Baba was a multi-millionaire. He was a millionaire, he didn't know. He thought share was just to be collected dividend. So what kills many of us is ignorance. I was discussing with somebody after the Friday evidence, one of my colleagues, who for nothing. Because he didn't know. He had potential that could be monetized, but he didn't know. I pray God will grant us more grace. So you have to now develop your passive income. Those income that you don't need to do those small things that you can put money in and they will now begin to generate income for you. Your money can work for you. If it doesn't work for you, bankers, what do you do versus what do you own? It's very important. What investment do you own that will bring you passive income? So those of us that are not investing, please think very well. You must know the difference between an asset and liability. A true asset gives you a positive cash flow. Liability, many of the time. I encourage you, my brothers and sisters, try to live below your means. If I have 1 million, you won't see me budgeting for the whole of 1 million. I will act as if, oh, what I made is 500,000. And then I will look at how I can save the other one. After all, you are free to use Operation Joseph. Joseph knew there was going to be 7 years of famine. And so for the first 7 years of 20, you were saving 150, that's 20%. If you don't save up to 20% of your income, you are not doing yourself good. In particular, at the level that many of us here are. Make your passive income cover your lifestyle expenses forever. I asked somebody that, what the money Christmas is for you? How are you getting that? Bro, my worry there's an investment that takes care of all my Christmas expenses. So income from that investment, moving should go Christmas. And I never exhaust it, so don't worry. I don't know how many of us have read it. I brought this from it. Employee, self-employed, developer, investor. You can fall into any of this. Most of us in this room are employees of Ekiti State government. Some of us also are self-employed. In particular, if you are the one that runs your own business. And then some also could be developers and some investors. But I tell you, the prime place to be is that place called investors. The employee and self-employed, they work with their body. Hey, 8 o'clock. Hey, head of service. Hey, we work with their body. How come they didn't have as much as those people that stay inside this? Because there's a difference between working with your body and working with your mind. The developer and investor, they are working with their mind, and so they earn more. So we also need to make use of our own grace, because even if the excuse me, masters, finish all that one. Masters, degree, I almost went one day when I sat under the teaching of Coach Caris. Some of you that know, that's the man that is the distributor of BMW and all those big cars in Nigeria. The man asked those of us in the room, he said, if there is any of you that didn't have more than standard 3, we should raise up our none of us. That man didn't go primary school, primary 3 local education, yet he has been on board of many parts. Yet that man has gone to Harvard a number of times to give business lecture. How? Thinking. Rat race. Oh yeah, John, if they promote, if they not promote, all that one is because of a kind of mentality. Many remain employees forever because job security. Iṣẹ́ ìjọba ló dá o wà pensionable wọn ní sáàkẹ́ tó bá ṣàti ṣe jẹ́ wà á retire wà á máa gba ẹ̀tọ́ ẹ̀ lọ. How much is the pension in the life of today? Some of the people that retired 5-10 years ago, even the pension, can it sustain them in the economy of today? In particular, if they don't have something to fall back on. And some will say, maybe you pay anybody share, I just want to be on my own. You want your financial security, which is fine. Do you have the means? God bless you. But by the time you get to developer level, you are now attaining freedom. How many of us have had Mr. Biggs before? We have seen, we have had Mr. Biggs. As at about 10-12 years ago, when I was consulting for someone, he wanted money. And I thought, what do you need this money for? He said he wanted to get the franchise of Mr. Biggs. That was when I got to know that anywhere you see Mr. Biggs, UAC colon the building, UAC colon surrender, you want to run Mr. Biggs, you that want to run Mr. Biggs, you are the one paying all those fees. But for you to be allowed to use the name Mr. Biggs, you must first of all deposit 50 million with you. For you to be allowed. I worked in Nestle for 7 years. Nutrient was a product developed in Nigeria, the research. Golden Moon was a product developed in Nigeria, the research, everything was 100% Nigeria. But because we wanted to put that their logo there, they call it seal of quality. For every sachet of Golden Moon you sell, for every nutrient you sell in Nigeria, you must remit something to Switzerland because their seal is on it. Ernest was a man, family Bukani no jebe. O ti ṣe pé àtìrandíran wọn jẹun. If you are of the Nestle family, you could walk to Nestle in Switzerland at any point in time. Olo ti dé o through ID card there, wà jẹun ọ̀fẹ́ wà padà sílé. How many businesses in Nigeria ló ti have owners? We need to talk to ourselves. So, for the employee, you have a job, or someone else is your boss, security comes before money. And of course, if you are self-employed, you own your own job, and all that one there. Then if you are a developer, you own a system that others operate. You are not there, but yeah, okay. I have friends that are abroad and they are making money in Nigeria here. You won't see them. My son works for one of them and no, I work on like that. Office in Nigeria, no office in Nigeria. Investors, your money works for you. My charge is that those of us in the Ekiti civil service, let us know, let us sit down and make our money to work for us. What are your financial goals? Which will you choose? Job security, financial security, or financial freedom? Financial freedom is the ultimate, even if we don't jump there overnight, but something we should work at. And of course, we should practice what we call delayed gratification. Delayed gratification means that, yes, I want this, but can I slow down? Can I invest the money now? And then with the proceeds of the money, I can then buy it. Grandfather, father became money. Buy asset first, luxuries last. Ask, how can I afford it? Not, I cannot afford it. Because when you say, I cannot afford it, you have sealed your destiny. You have said it's not possible. But it looks very high now. How can I afford it? When you will ask yourself, how can I afford it? It triggers your sense to now begin to think about, what do I do? What do I have? How do I go about it? Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Don't see life on the sun. And I would rather prefer that if we're having this next time, practical things brought into it. You've thought about all this, what has others have done? Because what you said, that what's the value of an asset that doesn't bring a profit? I wrote it down. So, sir, I believe that head of service will still invite you to give the profits. However, you actually taught us something about investing and spending your money. It's good, but did you see from the perspective of the stress that people undergo from the psychological being. Because at times, if it's all about money, how many years have we spent? If it's all about money, someone told me something. He said, if you start keeping money so much, and you feel at old age you enjoy, then doctor will tell you your best food. I'm sorry. So I think these two things we have to have in the balance. Thank you.
Very much, sir. I appreciate this teaching, and I equally regret that continue periodically. However, I have you comment before I ask my question. You did say that it's not good that we should watch where we put our money. That if we are drinking beer, all these things that you are wasting money. I was under one teaching. Somebody was saying this. One smart guy asked a question. He said, sir, you are not drinking and you are not organizing. How many houses have you built? So the question is, it's not about not drinking or not organizing. It's about what do you do with the money you are saving, which is the compound interest you spoke about. That's number one. Every time we have been learning this since our cradle years. We all studied elementary economics, and we are told that we have three motives of holding money: transactionary, speculative, and precautionary, which means day-to-day activity, then you save for rainy days, then you invest. The point is that what have we done with these teachings? So teaching of this nature is for us to go back, reflect, and act on it. You mentioned a particular book. It happens to be one of the two books I collected when I came from the university. One is Rich Dad and Poor Dad. The other one is The Richest Man in Babylon by Clason. These are the books that guided my growing up over the years. I have just one question I was discussing with a colleague here. We were talking about investment. I now have this question. Investment in children, is it really investment?
Very loaded investing, because some of these things are personal. If you come into me as a financial advisor, I will ask you some basic questions. What's your age? What's your intention for investing? Why do you want to go into this? What is your risk appetite? To what extent can you survive if things don't go the way you plan it? Quite a number of things that would have to be done. So we should take note of that one. Now is that when if you don't drink and you don't do, where do you put the money? Because somebody may not be drinking, somebody may not be humanizing, somebody may be gambling. I wanted to take the teaching of gambling in the church, and I almost said, it's a simple thing. You know, so it's an individual choice. Yes, we have been hearing this since the day of the Lord Jesus Christ. People have been hearing it. But that's why I said that if 10% can just make use of it, that's all. It's not even, didn't I know this one? Yet I also committed some of the errors that I mentioned here. Can you imagine you worked for 7 years, you collected millions as your final entitlement, and you put in an investment, and in your own side, it went up. That's me. So I had no choice but to now go back and critically examine and learn. So learning with tears. That's why I'm speaking with utmost passion. Now about children, it's two ways. Yes, it's an investment because they are your future, they are to nourish you in your old age. But you see, in the days of our father, investment in London, they will help you in agriculture, they will help you with that one. But sharing generation, now we are the ones that are more or less servicing them. And if care is not taken, even when they begin to have their own children, they are still posting them to us. And therefore, if you now think anything you invest in your child is an investment, that's why I tell you, don't pray that God should give me a male child, God should give me a female child. Yeah, but God give me a child that will love me. Because that will care for me. Because it's not all of them that it is given to even have your time. Now, I mean, one of our children went there, you died yesterday. I said, I'm excited to inú mi tún dùn ní kó jàjẹ́ tó kàn pé òun ní bàbá. And I tell you how much in dollars that was invested on this guy. But they have their own world. They have their own challenges. They have issues to settle down. Things are not as easy as it was for you and I to settle down. For many of these young ones. So Kenya to come on law. Ó graduate at 22. Ó ṣe ní ó wáṣẹ́. Ó ṣẹ̀ṣẹ̀ ríṣẹ́ at 25. Ó fẹ́ marry. Before he gets settled, bàbá tó ti súnmọ́ sàlẹ̀. And that's why the best thing is because of it, because let me prepare for my own. Because the in this day, but you better prepare for yourself because you don't know what this generation is going through. Many of the time they don't have your time again. And those of us that may still have younger children, you better befriend them. What I would just say is that as you are investing to them, make sure you are making them your friend. If I mean one piece behave, but I go to I disown you. Man disown one. Shall match be already. Our opponent, Jama told you Yawa, Kama told you mommy one. Because I know what I'm talking about. You are the one paying the school fees. Well done. But you are not there for them. As far as they are concerned, there's a woman that was helping us to buy things for children, and nobody is saying grandma in church. Their mom has to tell them, no, your dad gave grandma in church money to buy. He got money here. And so take care of their mother, because either you like it or not, they have a tendency to gravitate towards their mother. And they are able to remember how you treated their mother when they were in school. And so if you don't know, if you are not there, so let us please do our best to be a friend to their mother. And again, by the time they are all gone, then what happens? So it's a very big question. They can be an investment, but some other time again, the only way that way you come because you build for long. You want to spend every money to make sure that your child doesn't damage your name. So if you are not careful, it can now become a lifetime investment kind of thing. Let us train them, in particular when they are young. Training them is not just being school fees. It's sitting them down, telling them the reality of life. And my brother that said, no. Look at it from this way. You made a mistake. I made a mistake. One beautiful thing that we can do is to make sure that our children, the generation coming after us, don't make the same mistake we made. And so we can advise our junior colleagues in our offices and say, wow, I made this mistake when I was at your level. When I to pay incentive to our staff, I try to organize this kind of training to remind them. And I've seen the driver coming with 2 bags of yam. Today the only chairman is for you. How? He said the last incentive you pay. When you told us, I went and did some agree something, and I brought this one. I'm okay. And I thank you so much. God bless you.
Also thanking you for the good thought-provoking presentation. My own question is very simple. Looking at inflation,
yes.
When we talk about savings, 2 million naira of 3 years ago, the value is not even as much as, let me say, 8 million naira now.
Yes.
So what do you have to say about that? I was speaking with one of my mother. She said that she wants to buy a Nigerian used car for 7.5 million naira. And about 3 years ago, Tokumbo, you can get a very good Tokumbo for 2 million naira. So when you keep on saving your money, what about the value of the money after that?
Thank you so much, man.
That's that. And then please, I don't know if you can inform the house of where we can invest our money in Nigeria as today. So that will be attracting 15% interest.
Okay. That's why. Thank you so much, ma, for that question. Art education sometimes could be dangerous. I have spoken from a perspective of don't work everything. And what you are saying is extremely valid. And that's why you are allowed to change the position of your assets. What do I mean? That money, and you see inflation affecting your money, and you see that way, Mr. Olatona said we should just leave it there for 30 years. Not in Nigeria, not even in America, because things always change. And that is why when you are putting your egg in a basket, you also have to be keeping watch over it. Are we together? And so there are times to move from one level of asset to another. And that's where expertise comes in. Head of service was talking about seeing a financial advisor. So what I do personally is to move my money. I do much of money markets. But once I build that money market and I'm able to get 17-18% sometimes, you know, like I told you that once I get that one now and I build it up to a level, is it a landed property in a secure place that is available? Go ahead, invest, buy it. It's still an asset, it's still an investment. And I was telling my colleagues, I said, can you imagine? Okay, I think it was head of service I was sharing with. A particular plot of land, someone member of our church, because of if you are interested, the place was jungle some years ago. I bought that land 130,000 naira before God. And then one day, Dangote decided to say he wanted to go and site refinery along that path. They were saying I should sell it 3 million. I said, no way. Then they were luring me with 5 million. I said, no, it's too small. When they gave me 6 million, I needed the money. I wanted to sell it to get another property. But somehow God provided, so I left it. They announced that I should pay take them. I said, that's about 2 years ago. Now that same thing is going for about 15-20 million now. So it's still an asset, but it's grown. I took a loan of 5 million from someone to get the land. I added 2.5 to it. That's around 2016, 2017. And by the time I finished paying that loan within 2 years, the cost of land that was 7.5 million are risen to 12 million. And as at May this year, when I was asking my wife, she was saying, hey, Twitter, you can't believe it. That your land, blah, 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 is now worth, how much do you think it will worth? I said, maybe 20 million. I said, no, so person, ask so person. And by the time I asked the person, how much is the 65 million? Are we together? Qatar and 7.5 million. OTD 65 million. Less than 10 years. So it's your responsibility to monitor your investment. They do not have bank road. They do not have New Inn Road. Before that road came. And that's one advantage that you have as civil servant. It's in the idea where government is going. You already know. For example, government what's the road that leads to airport? Ring road. Road in order to see. If you what I mean is that if one knew that something will happen in that place, with the airport, that road, either we like it or not, has become the airport road. These are common advantages at the fingertip of civil servants. You have the information before member of the public cabinet. How are you taking advantage of it? You can take a little advantage. Oh, gee now. Oh Lord, I don't want money there. What happened? 500,000. Now it's airport road. Somebody now wants to build a mega something out of that place. He wants to do a mega estate out of that place. 1 million. I don't know, 5 million. I don't know about the 10 million matter. So you have to watch for inflation. You have to look at the risk from time to time. And if you don't have the capacity to do that, pay us something, and then we will enlighten you. And as said by head of service. Okay, all right, thank you, man.
Sir, on a lighter note, it's very good for us to be financially aware of the economic status. of the country or any environment we find ourselves. One of my friends went to the bank and the banker said, Toyin, lawyer 30 million naira. She married 30 million naira when this subsidy implementation was about to take place. Go and borrow 30 million naira. Well, she doesn't have anything, but she went with her share certificate and they borrowed her 30 million naira. The banker now told her that immediately go and use that 30 million naira to buy dollars. So she used the 30 million naira to buy the dollars, and within the week coming after, the naira was devalued. By the time she bought it, maybe it was 700 and something. Even at the black market, it was 700 and something. And within that week, he was able to sell the dollar for 1,000 naira plus. So within those 3 days, she was able to pay the principal and the interest, and she got double of what she sold. And the type of friends we move with, about move with àwọn tó ń jó kúrò àti ní all the time. But there are some people that you move that puts you on the toes and thought that what are you doing? Yeah. Do we have this? Let us do this, let us do that. As long as it goes on it pays.
Thank you, sir.
The more serious, we continue to engage. This is just the beginning of our series of engagement. I want to thank you and thank you and thank you. Silver of gold, we do not have, but please just manage whatever we have to give you. We'll let you go for now so that you can just spend the next couple of minutes by in-house.
Thank you.
Thank you. Please, let's usher them with the hand of
Thank you.